Welcome to the Well Said Podcast, the podcast for inspiring as well as aspiring authors and speakers. Now, here's your host, dynamic author and speaker, Cedric L. Threet.
Well, what's going on, good people? Hey, no, you're not just good people, you're great people. And you know why I call you great? Because somebody's got to be great today, and it might as well be you. Welcome once again to the Well Said Podcast, the podcast for inspiring as well as aspiring authors and speakers. I'm your host, Cedric L. Threet, aka Cedric the Edutainer, Simple Cedric, and all that good stuff. And today I have another great guest for you. I know you're going to enjoy this young man. But before I get to the interview, you know what you got to do. You got to hit that like button. You got to subscribe. You got to share it. You got to hit the notification and all that good stuff. And do what you do and let people know about the great things going on here at the Well Said Podcast. My guest today is a young man who I met about a year ago. I was at a conference. I was speaking at a conference in Houston, Texas. And I was in one of the conference rooms there, and I had some of my books on the table. And this young man walked in and he saw the books on the table. And right away, we just had a kindred spirit. I mean, right away, we clicked. He is a fellow speaker and author as well. He showed me some of his books and we just clicked, and I went to his presentation. And you know how sometimes you hear somebody speak and you just sit there in the audience and you're kind of like in awe. You're like, man, wow, I wish I could speak like that. But this gentleman, he is great. He is awesome. Let me tell you about my guest. His name is Dr. Onay Chatman. He is the founder and CEO of the Chatman Consulting Group, LLC, serving as the lead educational consultant for K-12 schools, colleges, and universities nationwide. His many achievements include being named Young Entrepreneur on the Rise by the state of Mississippi, receiving the prestigious Gardner C. Taylor Award for Leadership and Excellence, and recently receiving the prestigious NAACP Community Service and Humanitarian Award for his outstanding work with Black youth in the state of Mississippi. His educational journey includes attending the University of Mississippi, earning a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from the University of Phoenix, also the Master's of Christian Education degree from the historic Morehouse School of Religion, ITC, in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Chatman recently earned his doctoral degree in educational leadership. Dr. Chatman recently founded the Young Kings Gentlemen's School for Boys located in Tupelo, Mississippi. The Young Kings Gentlemen's School is a life skills academy for boys aged 8 through 18. This school has experienced tremendous results and continues to serve as a community mentorship pillar for boys looking for mentorship and guidance. Through his visionary leadership, the school has been able to provide many youth with scholarships and business development tools. The Young Kings Gentlemen's School is one of the premier mentoring academies for boys in the state of Mississippi. He is the published author of over 30 books, including 2 national bestsellers in the field of education. He has served as guest lecturer for various colleges, including Jackson State University, Wiley College, Miles College, Rusk College, Harris Stowe, University of Wisconsin-Madison, Morehouse School of Religion, Georgia State, and Texas Southern University. He continues to blaze trails in the field of education and community activism. Dr. Onay Chatman lives by the motto, just keep showing up, because we all have work to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to my dear friend, the very talented and gifted Dr. Onay Chatman. How you doing, man?
Man, salute to you, brother. Good to be here tonight, man. Good to be here
Yeah,
tonight.
awesome. So, I read this great bio, and I told the people that we met last year in Houston, and immediately we clicked because I'm always, you know, I love networking with people, and I love seeing people who are doing the same thing that I'm doing and have the same passion that I have for the youth. Tell us about this program that you have going on with the Young Kings.
So the Young Kings is an organization I started in 2021 because I understood the need for mentorship, understood the need for young black boys to be able to see examples.
Hmm.
I like to say it's hard to be what you can't see. And
Right.
so the impetus was to put people in front of my young boys that were doing various things, because I have a lot of young boys that don't necessarily want to go to college, but they want to be successful. And so
Okay.
we have to show them all routes. We have to show them the
Right.
trade route, the
Right.
college route, the entrepreneurship route, right?
Hmm.
I'm trying to show them all these different routes that they can take to still be successful. And so the Young Kings does just that. It's a life skills academy. We come in, we teach them how to iron clothes, how to wash clothes, how to change flat tires.
Mm.
We brought in a chef before, teach them how to cook. All these life skills they're going to need to be successful in life
Hmm.
is my goal, to put these people in front of them,
Yeah.
to give them these various skills so that they can move ahead and forge ahead into the future.
Oh man, that is awesome. That is so awesome. You mentioned, you know, showing them other skills other than just going to college. I mean,
Yeah,
going to college is great. We stress education. That is great. But I always say there are four things that I say that are not for everybody. And I say marriage, kids, military, and college.
okay.
Everybody's not suited for those things. And I just, it's interesting you mentioned that because I just completed a book for teenagers called Suit Yourself. It's a book about choices. It's just
Okay.
letting them know that the choices you make today will determine the suit you'll wear tomorrow. And in that book, I talk about that very thing, that everybody's not going to college. You don't have to go to college to have a successful life. And these life skills that you're teaching, I heard you mention something as simple as ironing clothes,
Yeah.
something like that. I ran into a gentleman, they teach young boys how to tie a tie and do
Yeah.
things like that. So, man, stuff like that is just so powerful and so needed in our society today, because a lot of these things are overlooked. And
Yeah.
we look at these kids and we try to blame them for this and blame them for that. But if nobody's taught them, then we can't blame them. Then the onus is on us. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody has to step up and teach these skills.
Hmm.
They're not going to just learn these skills on their own. Somebody has to facilitate, somebody
Yeah.
has to lead. That's what leadership is all about.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to step up and be a leader in my community. And as a result, when people started to see the Young Kings on Facebook, on Instagram, they begin to message me, hey, can you bring that model to my church? Can you bring that model to my school?
Hmm.
So I've gone as far as California,
Wow.
bring pushing the Young Kings model,
Hmm.
because once they saw us teaching the boys how to iron clothes, it kind of went viral.
Yeah.
That video kind of went all over the nation, man, and people begin to say, "Hey, can you bring that model to my space?" And so we've been able to take the Young Kings model all over the nation, and now I'm getting ready to take it all the way to Canada.
Mm.
Just received my first international invitation to come talk about how I work with black boys. So
Yeah.
all the way in Canada, they
Wow.
have the same problems that we have here. So,
Right. Right.
um, so the work must be done.
Hmm.
We gotta bring our brick, as I love to say. We're trying to build something in our community. Everybody has to bring their brick. If
Yeah.
we're gonna build what we're trying to build, everybody got to get off the sidelines, get in the game, and do your part. If we were all doing our part,
Hmm.
there's no way we would see the crime that we see. We wouldn't see the robberies and the killings and at all these things that we see in our communities, because everybody will be involved,
Right.
everybody will be hands-on,
Yep.
everybody will be mentoring and really
Hmm.
pouring into our young men and our young women. And so we have a job to do.
We definitely have a job to do, man. I love that. I love that. And you mentioned everybody has a brick, and that's what I like to say. God has a purpose for every man and a man for every purpose. And I tell people the reason why I do what I do is this is my small way of actually doing something about the problem as opposed to just sitting around complaining about it. We could sit around all day and complain about the problem, but what are you doing about it? Everybody can do something. Everybody can bring something to the table. And what you're doing, man, is just so awesome. And people may look at it and say, well, I can't do all of that. Well, you don't have to do all of that. You can take whatever gift and talent that you have and
Yeah.
pour it to these young people and just do it your own way, man. And here you are taking this thing international now, which is so awesome that people will see what's going on. And here you are growing up there in the streets of Tupelo, Mississippi, and going all the way to California and Canada and everything, spreading what God has gifted you with. That is just so awesome. So how did you actually get started in this writing and speaking arena?
So everything starts for me in 2004 when I entered youth ministry.
Okay.
So I was 22 years old in a youth ministry. And from there, everything just launched, right?
Mm,
Everything took off from there. So my background is church. And then I was able to go to seminary there in Atlanta, Georgia, to the
mm-hmm,
Morehouse School of Religion. That really gave me my awakening. That really gave me my sharpness. It gave me my
mm-hmm.
toolbox
Yeah.
that I currently use now. Gave me that foundation, to be able to merge the two. How I kind of merge, education and the spiritual,
Okay.
right? Because
Yeah.
for me, they all go together.
Okay.
They all work in unison for me. There is no separation. They
Right.
all work in unison. We're trying to deal with the whole child, the
Right.
holistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not just trying to deal with part. Is one thing they can do math and science, but you got to get that social and emotional right. If that social and emotional ain't right,
Right.
it does them no good to know math and science and
Right.
reading,
Right.
right? Because they're not going to be able to execute in life,
Exactly.
and so we got to deal with the holistic, the entire child. And so that's what I'm about, man. And that training that I received in Atlanta, Georgia, really put me ahead of the game, man, on really understanding what this thing is really all about, the consulting world, what it means to go into schools, not just churches, but
Mm-hmm.
what does it mean to stand in a school in front of 1,000 students?
Right.
How do you keep them engaged the same way you keep that crowd engaged in church? Like,
Right.
how do you keep these various audiences engaged
Mm-hmm.
in what you're saying?
Yeah.
And how do you give them a call of action at the end to
Right.
really make them want to go out and be better people? Because that's
Okay.
what it's all about. It's not
Right.
just about giving no great speech. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to go out and make impact on the world. I want
That's
you to
it.
go out and change the world. I want you to go out and do something with the
Mm-hmm.
with the information that I just gave you, right? We're not just sitting on information. That's like a car sitting at the gas station, filling up with gas and just burning it all out, right?
Right.
No, no, no. We want you to get on the road
Yeah.
because we want you out here encouraging other young people,
Mm-hmm.
impacting other young people, changing
Yeah.
the game for somebody else. And so that is of great importance. And so that's what we're doing.
Man, that is so awesome. That is so awesome. And being impactful. And you're talking about making a difference. And I always say, sometimes in order to make a difference, you got to be different.
Yeah,
And when you come out and you merge the two, the education with the spiritual, and you talk about these life skills, you know, I joke about it, but I say when I was in school, they taught me how to dissect a frog, but they never taught me how to balance a checkbook.
right,
So,
right,
you
right,
know, and those things are still happening in schools where they're teaching you all of this educational stuff, and that's great. They're giving you the book knowledge, but you also need these life skills, man. How do I survive in this world today? That's what these kids need to know. And they need to have those tools that you are equipping them with in order to do that. So you not only just go out to the schools, you go to churches, you speak at conferences and all of that. So tell the people your contact information. I want to get that in real quick so people can
So
know
you
how to
can,
contact you.
yeah, you can follow me on Facebook at Dr. O'Nay Chatman. That's O''Nae Chatman, Chatman. Dr. O'Nay Chatman on Facebook, Professor Chatman on Instagram, Dr. O'Nay Chatman also on LinkedIn. So that's how you can contact me. My email is O'Nay, that's ONAE dot Chatman, Chatman at gmail.com. You can contact me there. Also, www.onaychatman.com.
Okay.
You can go there and see my website. You can also contact me through my website. And so
Yeah.
that's my contact information.
Okay. And I mentioned in the bio, you have over 30 books. I thought I was doing something with my little 25. You got 30.
Yeah, I really have probably way more than that. I mean, I got so many on my laptop I've never put out.
Well, see that? Yeah, that's what I always
Uh
tell people. If
yeah,
I could draw, I would have 50.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. So I got many more than that. That's just part of legacy. It's part of legacy, man. It's part of
Hmm.
legacy building. I want to be able to leave something here, man, that will
Yeah.
outlive me. Something that can go all over the world, even when I
Hmm.
can't.
Right.
And so the information that I'm producing right now is really, for my kids and my great
Hmm.
grandkids that that
Hmm.
that will come later on in life. And so,
Hmm.
um, I tell people books are legacy building.
Yeah.
Is building authority. Is
Right.
is is your actual business card when you walk into a space.
Hmm.
Your books make you the authority on the subject.
Right.
And so, we got so much subject matter
Hmm.
that we have to put it in books because we got to
Yeah.
get it out of our mind
Right.
onto paper
Right.
so that people can access it in some type of way. And so
Hmm.
so that's how I kind of view book writing.
Oh, yeah. Now, see, you hear that? Any of you aspiring authors and speakers, you hear that? I mentioned in a previous podcast that when I was part of a Toastmasters group and we would do our speeches, one of my speeches was how to leave a legacy, because everybody wants to know how they can leave a legacy. And I wrote about the best way to do that is to write a book, because that book will be here long after you're gone. It will touch way more people than you ever could. That's how you leave a legacy. So, any of you aspiring authors, aspiring speakers out there, go ahead and write that book. It's been on your heart, it's been in your mind. You got to put it down on paper and get it out there. And you have people like myself and Dr. Chatman here who are willing to help you do that. Now, Dr. Chapman, tell us about some of these books. What is your latest book?
So my latest book, so I did a Bible study journal for Black boys,
Okay.
because I understood that that kind of material was missing. There was a
Hmm.
gap in terms of Bible study material for Black boys,
Yeah.
specifically for Black boys.
Hmm.
I also wrote a book on leadership, teen leadership, for middle and high schoolers. Um, and now I'm working on one called from dropout to doctor. So
Okay.
I'll be releasing that one probably in August or the early part of September.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go big with that one. I'm gonna do a book signing and everything.
Okay.
I haven't done an actual book signing for one of my books in, man, over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And so I want to come back out big with this one, man, because this is probably my best work.
Okay.
Where I detailed my whole journey.
Hmm.
How I was a college dropout working in factories,
Okay.
12, 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
Every day I went to work, somebody would tell me, you don't look like you belong in here. You're supposed to
Mm.
be doing something else. So
Yeah.
people can see in you what you don't even see in yourself
That's
sometimes.
true.
Right. And so just working in the factory and how I developed this love for reading.
Hmm.
I started reading 5 to 6 hours a night. I would read 4 to 5 books a month.
Wow.
And through reading, I was able to get back in school, man, and go from being a college dropout with a low GPA
Mm-hmm.
to graduating with my bachelor's with honors, master's with honors, and now doctoral degree with honors, man, all from reading. That's why I preach reading everywhere
Yeah.
I go. I tell young people, you must read.
Yeah.
Like, like put that phone down, man. Put that video game down and
Yeah.
start reading because listen, a lot of people consider that old school, old fashioned,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it still wins the game. It
Yep.
still wins in the end when you develop your mind through the discipline of reading,
Yeah.
you know, and because what we're seeing nationwide is our boys are reading at about 14% proficiency nationwide by the time
Okay.
they reach eighth grade.
Mm-hmm.
So that means, man, we that should be a cause for alarm
Right.
that our boys are not up to standards. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
not reading. They can't
Right.
read.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
what good does it do, man? We got Jordans on our feet. We got
Mm.
all the name brand clothes, and we
Come on
can't
now.
read.
Right. Right.
You know, that's a major problem, bro. And,
Mm-hmm.
and and so that's why I preach reading everywhere I go. I'm seeing the results, man. People come up, they take a picture of the books that I travel with. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, man, I want to start reading. I want to get my kids reading. And so I tell parents, if you want to get your kids reading, the best thing you can do is allow them to see you reading
Right. Right.
because you set the tone, you set the
Mm-hmm.
example. They
Yeah.
need to see you reading. And when they
Yeah.
see you reading, then they understand the importance of reading.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to get back to the basics, man. We got to
Yeah.
get back to the basics.
Yeah. And that's what it's gonna take. A lot of times people think it's got to be all of this elaborate stuff and you got to have the flashy lights and all of this kind of stuff and the glitz and glamour. No, just get back to the basics, man. I was just speaking at a school yesterday talking to kids about the importance of reading. I was telling them that you got to read and read well because if you ask them what they want to be in life, 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you either an athlete or a
Right,
rapper or something
right,
like that. And there's nothing wrong with that if you do it the right way. But I asked them, well, what if you can't read the contract?
right,
They're going to write a contract for you, and if you can't read it, you're going to be messed up. I even explained to them how, in order for me to get to that school, I had to read road signs. I
right,
wouldn't have been
right,
able to get there if I couldn't read.
right.
Everything we do involves reading. That is so
Absolutely.
important, that message being stressed, man, and it needs to be hammered in them over and over and over again. And even if they don't want to read this or read that. I told one parent, I asked her, I said, well, what is your son interested in? And she said, well, he likes basketball. I said, well, start by giving him a book about LeBron James. Let him read something that he's interested in just to
Yeah,
get the ball rolling. And once
yeah,
you do that, then that's going to carry over into this other stuff. And like you
yeah,
said, let them see you reading. And when they see it in you and see how important you feel about it, then that's going to carry on to them. And I think that's awesome, man. That is great. So what do you have on the horizon now? We were talking earlier. You said today is Juneteenth, and you were
yeah.
telling me that you were at an event earlier today. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, I was on a panel discussion with some great people out of the state of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about Juneteenth and the importance of Juneteenth, and we had a major panel discussion based around a documentary that detailed the events of Juneteenth. And Miss Opal Lee, who we've all seen in front of Congress, and I think she was invited to the White House when President Biden was there to tell
Mm-hmm.
her story. You know about the power of her family lineage
Right.
and how the ancestors fought, man, to understand that justice delayed is not justice denied,
Right.
right? That we're still holding out hope that we receive justice in a country that has not been kind to us, in a
Right.
country that has done everything to disenfranchise us, to hold us
Mm-hmm.
back, to put in systems that will hold us down. And so that was a great discussion that we had. Is yet relevant to this day to still be able to reflect upon where we came from,
Right.
and the people, and the we only tall because we stand on the shoulders of giants.
Exactly.
And we have to realize that, and we have to realize, always acknowledge the bridge that brought us over.
Mm.
And so that was the conversation that I had today.
Yeah.
And that's the conversation that I'm looking to push forward.
Okay. Great, man. So will you be entering some of that into one of your books as well?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
I'll be putting that, maybe, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I already have a book, 25 Black Heroes that changed the course of history.
Mm.
Where I outline many of our ancestors
Right.
and such. So I'm always looking to write more.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I still got several books on my laptop that I've never put out. So
Yeah.
I'm always seeking, okay, what can I do? So right now, I just developed a workshop for boys called the AI Boot Camp for Boys.
Okay.
You hear all this talk about
Mm-hmm.
AI, but nobody is showing our boys how to actually use AI to develop life skills.
Okay.
And so that's my latest project while working on a year-long SEL curriculum. So, man, my mind doesn't stop. So I'm developing that and developing a year-long SEL curriculum that can be used in schools nationwide and around the world,
Wow.
that would give them 2 lessons a week for an
Mm-hmm.
entire year. I'm talking about from August to May. You get
Wow.
2 lessons a week to empower your student body,
Yeah.
in the area of social and emotional learning. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always creating. My mind is always in a creative flow.
Yeah.
And so while it's flowing, hey, I'm putting that thing on paper, man.
You got to. You got to, because the paper doesn't forget. If I
Yeah,
keep it in my mind, I
yeah,
might forget it. But when I
yeah.
put it down on paper, that paper doesn't forget. And I tell people, my mind is always going. That's why I don't have any hair. because my mind is just always going, going,
Right.
going, man. It's just rolling. But now when I heard you speak last year, you were at one point during your presentation, you were encouraging the educators there, because we were at an educational conference. It was called Black Educators Rock, and there were educators there from all over the country, and we had the privilege of speaking to these educators. And during your presentation, I remember one thing that stuck with me that you said. You were encouraging those teachers in there, those educators, to write their own book. You were telling them that you think that this book has got to be 500 pages long, and you think you got to have all this and all that. Just write it.
Yeah.
So give us a word to any aspiring authors or speakers out there about what you talked about during that presentation.
Yeah. So I always want to give a call to action, as I said previously, because I believe that's where the power really lies in not just taking in information, but
Mm-hmm.
actually taking the information and actually implementing the information in order to make change in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And I often tell educators that you are the expert in the room.
Mm.
Like, you went and got that degree, you went and got those degrees, you went and got that training. So stop waiting for some district or some organization to give you material to teach from.
Mm-hmm.
You are the expert in the room,
Yeah.
which means you should be creating the material.
Mm-hmm.
You should never be saying, hey, I'm waiting on them to create this so I can teach it. No, you create it.
Right. Right.
That should be the goal of every expert, every leader, is
Mm-hmm.
that we don't wait around for somebody
Right.
to create something. It's our job to create it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are the expert in the room. We
Yeah.
have the training, we have the mindset, we have what it takes to produce that information
Mm-hmm.
that we're actually waiting on. And so we have to start producing, we have to start creating, we have to start becoming inventors of our own programs.
Right.
If we want to help these young people, we have to become the inventors.
Mm-hmm.
We have to use our ingenuity to push this thing forward
Yeah.
and into the future. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm doing the AI boot camp and the level up leadership, year-long SEL program because I want to be an inventor.
Mm.
I don't want to just sit around and wait on somebody else to invent something, and then I
Right.
try to teach from their manual when
Mm-hmm.
I can create my own manual.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And we have the power of AI now, so nobody has an excuse because now you have ChatGPT, which is the greatest tool ever created.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can create stuff in 1 day, 2
Yeah.
days, 3 days. There's no excuse for why we cannot create and become inventors.
Exactly, man. And this stuff is so powerful, man. A lot of people are afraid of this technology, and there are good and bad in everything. But I was saying the other day, I was telling somebody that no writer or author should ever say that they have writer's block anymore, because you could just go into this chat GPT thing and
Right.
you can
Right.
just speak something into it and bam, it'll spit it out, and you don't have to use it word for word. But what
Right.
it will
Right.
do is it will jog your memory, and you'll say, oh, okay, now I can do this, I can do that. A guy was showing me a few months ago how you could take this thing, and with me writing children's books, you can take this thing and tell it to draw you a particular picture, and it'll draw the picture for you just by you
Yeah.
typing in what he took a picture.
Absolutely.
He took a picture of his son playing baseball, and it turned it into one of those, what do you call it, the anime. it,
Yeah.
it did all of that stuff, man. So, like you said, it's all right here in the palm of our hands, and it's free.
Yeah.
And if it's not free, it's very inexpensive.
Right.
So
Right.
you can
Right.
take this stuff, man, and do whatever you want to do with it. And writing those curriculums, and that is awesome, man. A whole year-long curriculum for schools. That right there is just, that's mind-boggling. That right there, like you said, don't wait for the system to do it. You got it right here in your own hand. You got the knowledge. You are the expert in the room. So just go for what you know, man, and it's gonna bless somebody. So now
Absolutely.
you are going out with your the young kings and doing all that. Do you work alone, or do you have a team of people that work with you?
Um, right now I kind of work alone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I collaborate um with Jeff Williams.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Because
familiar
I
with
one
Jeff,
time,
another great
yeah,
speaker.
one time I had we had collaborated on this group we called the Three Kings. It was
Mm-hmm.
me, Jeff Williams, and Keenan Walker out of Atlanta, Georgia, Mr.
Okay.
Awakening Genius. And so we've done some stuff together. And so sometimes I'll collaborate with other consultants, but for most part, I'm out there alone. And I have my brother with me sometimes who does my videography and photography,
Okay.
because I'm trying to capture those moments so that we
Right.
can put that on the website, put that on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, put that
Yeah.
on cross social media platforms so that we
Mm-hmm.
can continue to grow
Right.
and gain more business that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty much a one man show for the most part.
Yeah. But you have that support system there with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody needs that. I talk about, you can take the word success and you can take the word support. Both of those cannot happen without you. You got to
right.
have that you in there. And
Yeah,
that's what's so important, man. But when you get with other like-minded people who can help you out with this stuff, I say, if you ever see a turtle on a fence post, he didn't get there on his own.
right, right.
Somebody had to put him there.
Absolutely,
Somebody
absolutely.
had to put him there. So we're all standing on the shoulders of all these great people, as you mentioned earlier. So that is just so awesome, man, to go out. Now, tell me about an experience you've had with teaching these young boys some of the things that we may take for granted, and we think it's just something simple because our parents may have taught. I know my mom taught me how to iron, and my mom taught me how to cook and do all of that
Hmm.
stuff. But tell me about an experience you've had with one of these young men where you see that, what I call that light bulb moment, where their eyes light up and they just get it.
Oh man, I would say last year I did a session in California
Mm-hmm.
called Teaching Black Boys How to Decode Power.
Mm.
Um, which was really could be considered a college level kind of course, but these were high schoolers,
Mm-hmm.
and they caught on right away, man, where I began to break down power, what
Okay.
power looks like in politics, in music, in
Mm-hmm.
business, in finance, right? And I began to give them the behind the scenes of how power operates,
Yeah.
even in education, power
Mm-hmm.
dynamics, and all these different things. And immediately following that lecture, we took them to a museum, and to hear them looking at pictures and saying, "Hey, let's decode this picture.
Mm.
What's going on in this picture?" And they begin to break down in real time
Yeah.
pictures
Yeah.
at the museum. What's going
Mm-hmm.
on in the picture? What is the painter really saying here? So I actually got to see them in real time do what I had just taught.
Mm.
And so it was such a great feeling, man, to see that light bulb come on instantly.
Yeah.
And I really want to expand upon that and make that even into a book about how to decode power, because
Mm-hmm.
for me, that is something that every young boy needs to learn, is power dynamics. What's
Yeah.
going on when you say school to prison pipeline? Who's in power there?
Mm.
Who's being disenfranchised there? When you talk about the music industry, why are most of the executives white but the talent is black?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a power dynamic, right?
Yeah.
All these different things. So I'm teaching them how to go underneath the surface
Yeah.
to really discover what's going on out here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of my best lectures, is teaching black boys how to decode power.
Wow. Wow. Because we may not like to admit it. We don't talk about it often, but everything pretty much, you look at what's going on in today's society, it boils down to two things: money and power.
Yeah,
And that's what people like to hold on to. But when you can get those things, and there's nothing wrong with it, either one of them, if they're used in the right way.
absolutely.
That's why it is so important and so awesome, this beautiful work that you're doing, man. You're teaching young boys how to harness that energy that they have, because
Yeah,
they all have all kinds of energy.
yeah,
They all have all kinds of imaginations, and you're teaching them how to harness all of this energy that they have and into something positive, and to harness it in the right way. So this all involves conflict resolution,
yeah,
communication, and everything else. It's all rolled into what you're doing, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All that is in one.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about developing life skills, we're talking about the whole wheel of social and emotional activity. So we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
self-management, positive decision making, team building,
Yeah.
social awareness, self-awareness. Like
Mm-hmm.
all those skills are wrapped into everything we teach.
Yeah.
And so we like I said, I keep going back to, we want to be a holistic facilitator and educator. We want
Right.
to deal with the entire child, the entire
Mm-hmm.
student,
Yeah.
so that we can really see the success that we're trying to see.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes somebody coming in and walking with the students.
Yeah.
That's why most of my contracts are oftentimes set up to be year long.
Okay.
We're never trying to just do a speech and we out, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to walk with you for a year or two, so that we can see you actually grow. We can
Right.
actually chart your growth. We can actually
Right.
see that, okay, you started here, but now you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we want to see that actual growth of these young boys. And so that's why I structure my contracts the way I do.
Okay. And that's great too, because you have them, like you said, it's nice to go in and do a presentation. And I always tell teachers that I am not so naive as to think I can come in here and do a 45-minute presentation on bullying and it's going to change the culture of your school. That's
Right.
not going to happen. You need that ongoing support. You need that
Yeah.
ongoing communication and
Yes.
interaction to help. Even if you're not there, you need to leave something with them so that they can carry it on and keep this thing going, because a lot of kids, they feel abandoned when you do that. You came in here, you told me this, you told me that, but yeah, now you gone home. I got to go back out into these streets. I got to go back out into society. I got to go back
Yeah.
to my hood and deal with all this stuff. Tell me how
Yeah.
you're going to do that. Like you said, we can put all this stuff out here, but what about the how?
Yeah.
We got to show people how to do this kind of stuff. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you're doing that, man, I think that right there, it hits home. It's something that everybody can relate to. It's something that's much needed. We need more Dr. O'Nay Chapmans in society to go out, and even if you're not doing it to the level he's doing it, if you're not doing it the same way he's doing it, like I said, God has a purpose for every man and a man for every purpose. You can
Absolutely.
take something from what he's doing. You could learn from what he's doing. You can say, hey, how can we take this and apply it to where we are or to what we're doing and what we're trying to get over to our kids? So, man, I just appreciate what you do. I think that is just so awesome. I wish you much success. I know you're going to go on and continue to do great things and touch so many lives by what you're doing, because this is what a legacy is all about. It's going out, man. This thing, you talk about the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
This is a web. What you're
Yeah.
doing is a web, because you and I'm sure you're already knowing this. You're going to be impacting people. You already are impacting people who you may never meet, but your job is to just put it out there. And that's why I am so appreciative of what you're doing. Give the people your contact information again.
Yeah. You can follow me on Facebook at Dr. O'Nay Chatman, Instagram at Professor Chatman. Go to my website, www.onaychatman.com. And that's where you can always find me. And O'Nay is ONAE Chatman, CHATMAN, not PTMAN. That's where you can find me.
Okay, man. Wow. There you have it, people. Another great session of the Well Said podcast. And again, everything he said was well said. Because that's what we do on the
Yes, sir.
Well Said podcast. I told you, people, I am going to be bringing you some fire. You know, we not dealing with lightweights here. We are bringing the fire. We are looking to make an impact. That's what this thing is all about. I appreciate my brother, Dr. Chatman, for taking time out of his busy schedule to come on and talk to you today. People, like I said, how can you help but not get something from all this material that he just spilled out to us today? All of this encouragement, all of these things that we can be doing. And we want to go out and support what he's doing and people like him, because you know some other people who are doing great things. And that's why I always tell you, just, hey, keep being great, because somebody's got to be great today. It might as well be you. Thanks again for joining the Well Said podcast. It was great having you here, and we're going to see you on the next one. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Well Said podcast. Tune in next time for another exciting and informative edition. If you need help on how to become an author or speaker, contact Cedric at cedrictreat.com. And thanks again for listening to the Well Said podcast.